Superman. Superman. Does whatever a super can. That's not how the song goes. But recently, a show came out called My Adventures with Superman, which is a Superman show. It is on HBO Max. It also aired on Adult Swim. You can watch it on HBO Max. I heavily suggest you watch it on HBO Max. I watched it over the course of the past 10 weeks with some personal friends in our personal Discord server, some IRL friends, and I really, really enjoyed the show. My Adventures with Superman is probably the best piece of Superman media, or Superman adjacent media I've seen in a while, because it did a couple of things right for me. One, I'll just go over it. Firstly, the art style, phenomenal. They made it an anime, and they made it a good anime. Okay? Now, it was animated by the same people who animated Voltron, but say what you will about the Voltron Legendary Defender show, they didn't write it, they just animated it, and god dang, did they make the show look good. Okay, so spoilers ahead, of course. Spoilers for the show. But My Adventures with Superman does, like, a handful of things right, okay? One, they made Clark Kent a dork. And that is something that I think should happen more in Superman media. Clark Kent. Why doesn't Superman have a song? He technically does, but you just can't sing it. But you know, it's like the like that. But yeah, no. So they made Clark an absolute dork, which is something that I feel like a lot of Superman media doesn't do well or doesn't understand. Like, Clark Kent is a farm boy from Kansas who went to school to be a journalist. And he is an investigative journalist in many of those iterations. He writes fucking articles and investigates shit as a journalist. Like, Clark is a fucking nerd, okay? He's a dork. A lot of Superman media doesn't do that well. My Adventures with Superman acknowledges the fact that Clark, even if he is an absolute buff piece of shit, he's a dork. He's a nerd. He's an absolute goofball. And that's something that I really love about My Adventures with Superman. That is something that I want to see out of more versions of Clark Kent. And that is something that I really love in My Adventures with Superman. Another thing that they also did well is power scaling. An issue with a lot of Superman media is that people don't really take Superman seriously because he's like the ultimate superhero. He's all powerful. The only thing that can stop him is kryptonite. And the way that they get around this in My Adventures with Superman is two things. Clark is still getting used to his powers and being Superman, and even if he won't necessarily die from his injuries, he can still fucking feel them. Okay? And also, on top of that, a lot of the foes that Clark comes up against use Kryptonian technology that Kryptonians would use against other Kryptonians. So it's not necessarily that kryptonite is the only thing that can harm Superman. Other things can harm Superman. It's just kryptonite is the one thing that you use when you really want to fuck him up. But he can still get his ass whooped. And that is something that I feel like the show handled well. Because, like, you can say, oh, it's Superman. Superman isn't supposed to get his ass whooped. Yes, he is. He's the protagonist of a story. Protagonists of stories, though they may not always get their ass whooped, protagonists of stories get their ass whooped often. It's part of the story a lot of the time, and I'm glad that they were able to come up with a way for Clark to get harmed in the show and to make it make sense. Third thing they did well, the romance between Clark and Lois. I watched the show with a bunch, well, not a bunch, but with, a bunch of gay people, and we all agreed, this is the gayest straight fucking relationship we've ever seen. The relationship between Clark and Lois in the show is the cutest, most saccharine, fucking straight relationship we've ever seen. Yeah, Clark is a U-Haul lesbian, and we don't give a fuck what you say. I'm kidding before someone gets mad at me. Yeah, there must be conflict for story purposes, just like the Dark Canuck says. Also, Kryptonite isn't even Superman's only weakness, he's super vulnerable to magic. Yeah, gay fesh. And that's something that we see in the episode where, Mixes Pitalik shows up. In the episode where Mixes Pitalik shows up, Mixes Pitalik has to be outsmarted, which is often, that's how you deal with Mixes Pitalik, but in this one, they have to be outsmarted in order to, like, get the fucking hat off their head to stop them from fucking shit up. But, like, Mixes Pitalik could just, like, snap and fuck Clark up if they really wanted to. You know, switches them up into different, fucking, like, universe versions of Clark. It's really cool. Also, the character design, dude. Bro. We are not lacking here. Okay? And, finally, the thing that I felt like... Yeah, you can go ahead. The thing that the show did really well is the shipping that is shipping, like I'm from. But the thing that the show did really, really well is that they tried really hard to refute the idea of a dark Superman. And that is something that a lot of media does when concerning Superman characters, and it can work sometimes, but it's kind of become like an overfilled genre. You know, you have characters like your Homelanders, you have characters like your Omni-Mans, like your Injustice Superman, where their entire point is that they are an all-powerful being like Superman, but they're evil. And some of them are done well, like Homelander, like Omni-Man, but some of them are just cynical attempts to try to take down kind of what Superman is meant to be as a character. The thing that makes Superman a good superhero and a good character isn't that he's all-powerful. It's that in spite of his power, he is ultimately human. In spite of the fact that technically, genetically, he's not from planet Earth, technically, genetically, he's not a human, he embodies the human spirit. He's willing to help people. He's willing to, risk himself if he absolutely has to. Even if he is, in many cases, invincible, he's willing to go out there and risk himself to save other people, even if he's going against someone who could actually hurt him severely. And he has a deep love and care for humanity, and that's something, yeah, I agree, evil Superman feels really overplayed. And that's something that the show refutes really well. Like, at one point, I think it's in episode 4, Clark is fighting a villain, and the villain is like, oh, why are you helping people? Like, you have an ulterior motive. And, you know, Clark asks, why do people always think that what I'm doing is for personal motivation? Like, I just want to help people. And that's something that I really liked about the series. The fact that they were willing to explore the idea of a dark Superman, to even have Clark, for it to be a major plot point that he was very anxious about himself becoming this dark Superman, to the point where in the finale he almost sacrificed himself to stop himself from almost fulfilling that role. That is something that I really liked about this series, because it gently took the idea of there being a dark or evil Superman and boiled it down, and not even making that many arguments against the idea, but just making that one argument of why is it so hard for people to believe that some people just want to do good in the world. And that is something that I really liked about this series. If you like Superman, if you like traditional writings of Superman, where he is just, as people say, a Boy Scout in shorts and like a cape. If you like that version of Superman, I cannot recommend the show anymore. It's really good. It's on HBO Max. It's getting at least another season, is confirmed. It might get more, but you have to watch it on HBO Max if you want to see more of those seasons. I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna be there for season 2. It's a great show. I can't recommend it enough. That being said, if you like this review, make sure to comment about it. I usually don't do reviews of media, and I would like to know, what would y'all like me to review? I might review it, but you have to comment so that I know. Also like, subscribe, so that I also know that you liked it. Hit the bell icon so that you know whenever I upload a video or go live, and you can also join the Discord so that you know whenever I go live, and follow me on Twitter. Links in the description, of course. I love you all. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.